My immediate family consists of me, 27 male, my wife, 29 female, and our son, 8 male. We rely solely on my income to make ends meet, and while it is sufficient for our own needs, we don't have any extra money to spare. My wife's older sister, 31 female, is going through financial difficulties due to her poor choice in a partner. Her husband was incarcerated for theft while she was pregnant with their first child. Out of sympathy, we assisted her with everything and paid for her pregnancy-related expenses. However, as soon as her husband was released, she became pregnant again. Her husband is lazy and only works a few days per month, sometimes going for months without any employment. Given their situation, I ended up financially supporting her second pregnancy as well. On both occasions, we also gifted her some money. Shortly after giving birth to her second child, she became pregnant again with a third baby. At this time, my family was undergoing significant adjustments in our own lives, which involved substantial expenses. During her pregnancy, she repeatedly asked for loans that she never repaid, but we anticipated this and didn't plan on asking for the money back. When the expected date of her child's first birth arrived, we visited the hospital and provided a monetary gift as we always had done. After the baby was born, the hospital expenses had to be paid, and the sister's husband, 38 male, and his family looked to me when the bill arrived. I remained silent, and he handed me the bill. I then explained that I couldn't cover the hospital expenses this time. I told him we had never agreed on it in the first place. Additionally, I pointed out that the amount we had gifted her was roughly the same as the hospital bill, so it should have covered it. The husband became angry and started speaking negatively about me. He called me an a-hole for not paying. His family members also appeared angry and openly criticized both me and my wife. I responded by saying that they cannot expect me to pay when we didn't agree upon it beforehand. Am I the a-hole? Nothing's stopping those family members from helping. Let's be honest. Your sister-in-law and her husband make horrible choices. These choices are not your responsibility to pay for. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but you should stop enabling your sister. It must be super difficult to see her in this situation, but as long as you provide financial support, she has no reason to change her situation. Not the a-hole. No one is entitled to your money, but you done it to yourself in all honesty. Stop supporting them. If they struggle, that's their own fault, because there's 2 adults in that home. Also, tell his family to pay the damn bill before they even comment on you. When the virus hit, my husband and I asked my son, 25 male, and his girlfriend, 24 female, to stay with us and our daughter, 21 female, as they both had lost their jobs due to the virus. Son readily agreed, but daughter-in-law was more hesitant and considered moving to another country to stay with her mother. We insisted they both stay with us, as we didn't know how travel would work at the time, but she still seemed hesitant. However, they did end up moving in. Everyone had always gotten along quite well, so we had no reason to think things would be different. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Within a few days, I noticed massive amounts of food and snacks disappearing very quickly. E.g., several gallons of ice cream or an entire Costco-sized box of snacks would all be finished off in one night. Cost isn't an issue. The problem was the food wasn't available when it was expected to be. It's all good. My son doesn't like, and my daughter has never eaten like that, so it must be daughter-in-law. I didn't want to confront her, and I'm not sure how she manages to eat so much and stay extremely skinny. During the day, she's a very picky eater and either makes her own or picks at what I cook. Then I notice her staying up late into the night eating. She did often replace the food, but then she'll eat the replacement food too. And my daughter, who is still finishing classes online, found it extremely disruptive, especially since she has had eating disorders in the past, and constantly having no access to certain snacks made me worried she would relapse. I asked her gently if she would move out, but that if she wanted to move to a nearby apartment, she was still welcome to come by any time. She agreed to move out, but my son informed me that she was really panicked because she didn't really have anywhere to go. As they moved a couple states to stay with us, and since she can't travel to her parents' country right now and doesn't have much money to find a place due to being unemployed, she was staying in an Airbnb while trying to figure things out. I do feel badly, as she would have been able to stay with her family if I had not insisted so strongly that she stay with us. But her food behavior is unprecedented, and I have to protect my daughter. Am I the a-hole for kicking her out and making her temporarily homeless? You're the a-hole. You really admit that you insisted they both stay with you. You admit you can afford the extra food, but you kicked this woman out, a woman who cannot go back to her own country and who got pressured by you to move states away from where her and her son were initially, over her overeating? You're the a-hole. You really went 0 to 60 on this one. You saw she was eating your food, and immediately your reaction is to kick her out? I get that you're worried about your daughter, but you are also making some assumptions there as well, with the possibility of her relapsing as a result of daughter-in-law eating too many of the snacks. It sounds like you didn't even attempt to have a conversation with daughter-in-law. It also really sucks that you and your husband went out of your way to convince her to stay with you during the virus, when she could have stayed with her mother before things got crazy. And here you are throwing her out on the street. Her behavior sounds a little annoying, but not worthy of this. You seem kinda heartless, to be honest. You're the a-hole. You pretty much forced this girl to come live with you, and now because she was eating too much food, you're kicking her out? There's no, let's talk about it and see why she's eating too much. Your solution is to just kick her out. You're a rude and a-hole person. You care about your daughter and her health problem, but not another person? I've been raised by a single mother. My mom has always told me Dad's not in the picture, and she'd explain when I'm older. A few years ago, my mom said she'd had an affair with a married man. She got pregnant, and she had no regrets about having me. But the man wanted nothing to do with us, and things quickly turned sour between them. He would pay child support money, not court-ordered, because he did not want to go to court, but of his own volition, and that was it. This year, I found out who my father is. My mom, who has trouble with math, wanted help with her taxes, and I found out about monthly checks from a man in her finances. I asked if he's my father, and she said yes, but she didn't want to talk about him. I looked him up later, and he's a conservative politician in this state. I wanted to talk more with my mom and process things, but she really didn't want to talk. So I talked to my friends and told them who he is. And one night, my friend was having a party, and we'd gotten beer, and we were a little tipsy and decided to call my dad. Found his office number online, and we went to voicemail. I just kinda didn't know what to say, so I was like, "Hi, I'm your daughter. My mom is Jane Smith. I want to talk. Call me at number." Never got a response. My mom found out I did that, calling his office. Apparently his staff did get my message, and he was angry enough to call my mom. And I told her I'd told my friends. Anyway, she was mad at me for doing something stupid that might lose me financial support till I'm 18. I'm 17 now, I have a job, and for not asking her before running my mouth at school. I told her I was sorry if I'd said or done anything that was embarrassing to her by talking about my parentage at work, but I wasn't sorry if I made my dad feel some sort of way, and that I honestly wanted to call back now that I knew I was getting through. I wanted to ask him firsthand how he's okay walking away from a baby while also building a career on family values. I am his blood family, and not ashamed to say it to anyone who asks. If he wants to look like he values his family and his political career, he should start by valuing his damn family. My mom really doesn't want me to push it. She says I'm too young to understand the nuances. He did right by us by paying for my upbringing. Am I the a-hole for how I feel about it? Not the a-hole. If he's a conservative, married politician, and he didn't want a child he fathered with another woman calling his office, where his entire staff could find out, he should have kept it in his pants. Not the a-hole for how you feel about it, but you're the a-hole for getting drunk and calling his office. Not to mention telling people X is my father, when your mom made it clear he did not want to be in the picture. Everyone sucks here besides your mom. Your father has provided child support your entire life. That's all he has to do as half of the couple who created you. Some people don't want to be parents, and they shouldn't be judged for that. Your mom chose to keep you. That was her choice. Do you really think growing up with a father who clearly didn't want to be your parent would have been a better alternative? So he's a hypocrite. So what? Your mom is the one who wanted a child, and your father made sure you were financially supported. It sounds like they had an agreement. You're not entitled to anything more just because you're related by blood. Your mom is right. There are nuances. And neither acting like a bratty teenager nor drunk dialing his office makes you look good either. My wife and I got married about a year ago, and she took my last name. Let's say it's Smith, and my wife's maiden name will be Johnson. So we are the Smiths, and we recently had a son too. So let me preface this with the fact that I love my grandmother-in-law. She is a wonderful woman who loves her family to the moon and back. But she only had sons, so she doesn't know what it's like to not have your family name move on. All of her sons are married to women who are now Johnsons. All of her grandkids are Johnsons. She's got this Johnson pride, which is great. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your large family. The problem is that she doesn't seem to respect the family names of her daughter-in-laws. My mother-in-law once told me a story about how Grandma Johnson got super offended by my mother-in-law's mother, let's call them Butler, saying my wife's personality as a child was from the Butler family. It didn't sit well with Grandma Johnson, who said, "No, she's a Johnson through and through. You can tell." Grandma Butler, bless her heart, never challenged this and would just let Grandma Johnson have her way, and according to my mother-in-law, it happened more than often, and with the other daughter-in-laws as well. So now that my wife and I have our little family starting, we bought a home, and my grandmother-in-law got us a housewarming present. The present was a big wooden sign that says, "Bless this Johnson house." It's a very thoughtful gift, but my house isn't a Johnson house, it's a Smith house. My kid's last name is Smith, and he's a member of the Smith family, so I don't want this sign hanging in my house. The other day, my wife's uncle came to visit. He knew my grandmother-in-law had gotten us the sign, and when he didn't see it up, he said it was disrespectful to her. I told him exactly what I wrote in the paragraph above, and asked how he'd react if his wife's mom tried hanging up a similar sign with her last name on it. He said that's different because of how storied and strong his family ties are, and that being a Johnson is more than surname, it's an honor. I told him I'm honored to be a part of the Johnson family, but we are the Smiths. This is a Smith household. My wife is a Smith. My son is a Smith. That's who we are, and we're proud to be Smiths. My wife is mostly on my side, but has asked if we could put it up when Grandma Johnson visited, to appease her. My mother-in-law is 100% on my side, and wants me to keep it down even when Grandma Johnson comes for a visit. She's even told him to just throw it out. So am I the a-hole for straight up refusing to put this sign up? Not the a-hole. That's just weird to be so set on a name, especially since she married into her name and should understand the want to take your spouse's name. Wouldn't hang it up. Not the a-hole. Both you and your grandmother-in-law are weirdly into surnames, but you should decorate your house the way you want. If neither you nor your wife want to have the sign up all the time, it's silly to put it up just for Grandma, especially because it sounds like your busybody uncle-in-law will tell her you don't have it up all the time anyway. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't hang it either. It's not disrespectful. It's just not your family name. It's not even your wife's anymore. This is your family now. That doesn't negate her family or history or anything. Grandma should have gotten a different gift. I, 30 female, have been with my husband, 35 male, 3 years. We have an 8-month-old baby together. My husband has an ex-wife and 2 children together, ages 8 and 13. We get every other week. My husband is civil with his ex-wife, even though they don't always get along. His ex recently was in a horrible car accident with multiple serious injuries. She had multiple surgeries and is now home, but she'd need care for the next few months and rides to physical therapy once she starts that. I'm a CNA, and my husband is ICU doctor, but specifies with wounds. After a long talk, we decided it'd be best for her to stay with us, since she had no family or friends, and her insurance didn't cover an in-home nurse, and we know how to medically care for her. I'll admit, I've never gotten along with my husband's ex, but I understand that this is not the time for petty arguments and drama, and that she needed cared for, which is what I was good at. I even had requested less hours and adjusted my schedule to make sure my husband or I could be home with her and the kids always. I have more leniency with my job, so I'm her main caregiver the past few days, and I help her bathe and get dressed. My husband handles the less invasive things. I was doing the laundry, which my husband has been doing for her, and grabbed some of her clothes and put them in. When she found this out, she was super upset and said I should have asked and I shouldn't be touching her belongings. I told her that she lets me bathe her, but I can't wash her clothes. She said no, and that it was super rude of me to come into her space and grab her laundry, and that I should understand boundaries. I told her that's why she was staying in my house, so we could care for her. She called me a bee, and that I only agreed to take care of her so I'd look like a good person and not to touch her stuff again. I brought this up to my husband, and he backed me up and said that's what she was here for us to take care of her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'd love it if you did my laundry for free. It sounds like she's dealing with resentment, but keep in mind that this is probably very difficult for her. If you and your husband have a good functioning relationship, it's probably very hard for her to watch that, especially while disabled and being in a position where her replacement is now taking care of her. That would probably be very difficult for most people. Most people, when they are around their exes and their partners, put all of their shields up, and she's in a position where she can't. She literally has to be in front of you naked. Not the a-hole. I imagine she's feeling bitter and small, needing to be cared for by you and her ex. You're being super practical, helpful about this, given the circumstances. Not the a-hole. I want to start off with, in no way should she have escalated the situation, or that it required her to get so heated. But it might be coming from a place of control. Everything as of right now is out of her control, especially considering bathing herself, which is very intimate. I think she's definitely in the wrong with the way she reacted, but I can understand why she might want that little bit of control of wanting you to ask first. I personally wash my items very specifically, so I would also be upset, not to mention losing all other control in my life. I don't think you were in the wrong by any means for wanting to help, but maybe try to see it from that side of things.